Okay, you are going to need your home connections book. So push pause, go grab your home connections book. All right, now that you've got it, turn to page 27, and you're going to notice you were supposed to have already done this. Last week I told you to do A through F, but we did A, B, and C all together. So today I would like to go over D, E, and F with you so that you're able to check your work. Okay, so let's start with D. For D, when you looked at this problem, 1 2/3 plus 1/6, maybe you thought about using clocks. And you absolutely could have used clocks. Maybe you thought about finding common denominators. However you solved it is fine. The way that I'm going to do it today is by finding common denominators, because that's where we really are moving with all of this. So we have a 3 as a denominator and 6 as a denominator in this problem. So I'm going to start out by listing the multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, and I think I can probably stop there. Okay? Now I'm going to list the multiples of 6. 6, 12. All right, I'm going to stop right there because I already see matches. I see 6 as a match, I see 12 as a match. I can use either one of those as my common denominator. Either one of them. I'm going to pick 6, but you could use either one. So you have 1 2/3. Oops. 1 2/3. Sorry about that. And we want that we want to find the equivalent fraction that has 6 as a denominator. So I know that I can still keep my 1 whole, and I want 6 as a denominator. Well, here's what I know. I know that 3 times 2 is 6, and whatever I do to the denominator, I need to do also to this numerator up here. So I want to multiply it by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So 1 2/3 is exactly the same as 1 4/6. And then, hooray for me, 1/6 already has 6 as a denominator, so I don't need to find an equivalent fraction there. So now I just want to add 1 whole and 4/6 plus 1/6. When I do that, I get 1 whole and 5/6. Okay, so look and see what you did. If you didn't get 1 5/6, see if you can figure out what you did wrong, because that is where the most learning happens. When you make a mistake but you figure out what you did wrong, that's when you learn. Okay, now let's look at E. For E, when those of you that sent me pictures of your work last week, I noticed a lot of you used money here. Okay, money would have worked fine. So let's just start with that. A lot of you noticed that 5/10 was 50 cents, and 1/4 of a dollar is 25 cents. And so 50 cents minus 25 cents is going to give you 25 cents. And you knew that 25 cents was 1/4 of a dollar. And that's simple. That's how simply you solved that, okay? Now, some of you went ahead and tried to, I'm going to erase this. Some of you went ahead and you tried to find common denominators, which was fine too. Either one of those strategies will work just fine. So you saw that you had 10 as a denominator and 4 as a denominator, and I noticed that you were listing multiples of 10. So you have 10, you had 20, you had 30, maybe you even went all the way out to 40. So those are our multiples of 10. And then you did your multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, no matches yet, 16, 20. Oh, I think I can stop there because I see that I have a match of 20. So now I can use 20 as my denominator. So I have to find fractions. I have to just find the equivalent fractions. 5/10 equals how many 20ths? And 1/4 equals how many 20ths? Well, we can start up here. This one should be easy because we should notice that 5 is half of 10. So then what's half of 20? Okay, or you could think of it as 10 times 2 is 20, and whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So 5 times 2 is 10. All right, and we have proof here that these are equivalent because we know 5/10 is equal to half, we know 10/20 is equal to half. All right, now we come down to 1/4. I can see that 4 times 5 is 20, and whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. So 1 times 5 is 5. So now I have here my equivalent fractions that I'm going to work with. And I'm really happy now because they have common denominators, so that makes them easy. So I have 10/20, and I am subtracting. I think some of you may have added on this one. So if you did all this work right and you accidentally added at the end, consider that a victory, okay? But we were supposed to subtract. So 10 minus 5 is 5, and then I put my denominator of 20, okay? Now remember when we did this at the very beginning and we said people did it with money and they got 1/4 as an answer. Well, sure enough, 5 is 1/4 of 20. If I take 20 Skittles and I split them into 5 equal groups, I'm going to have 4 in each group. So 5/20 is the same as 1/4 because 5 is 1/4 of 20. Okay? All right, so check your work on this one. If you need to, pause the video and see where you made your mistakes. See what you did wrong. Okay, now for F. F looks like really big numbers, but remember the advice that I always give you when you're dealing with fractions. Think of half. If you took my advice there, you might have noticed that 30/60 is the same as a half. So you could have thought of this problem as 4 1/2, 4 wholes and a half, plus 1 whole and 1/4. Okay, and then you could have gone through all the steps and found equivalent fractions, but I think at this point most of you know that looks like we want to use 4 as a denominator, so I can keep my 1 and 1/4 because I have 4 as a denominator there. And for this over here, well, 1/2 is equal to, and I think we all know this by now, 1/2 is the same as 2/4, okay? So I have 4 and 2/4 plus 1 and 1/4. So I add my whole numbers together first. 4 wholes plus 1 whole is going to give me 5 wholes. And then I add my 2/4 plus my 1/4, and that's going to give me 3/4. This one looked really hard in the beginning, but if you would have just thought of half, you would have realized it really wasn't that bad. So again, you can stop the video here, and if you didn't get this one correct, see if you can find where you made your mistakes.